My beloved child, stop for a moment. Give me your full attention. Do not rush past these words as if they are only another message in a crowded day. I know how quickly your mind moves. I know how many voices compete for your focus. I know how easily fear about tomorrow can pull you away from what I am trying to place inside your heart today. There is something I need you to understand before this day ends. You have been looking at tomorrow as if everything depends on your ability to predict it. You try to control and prepare for every possible outcome, but you cannot see the whole road ahead. I can. That is why I am asking you to stay close for these next moments. My beloved child, I am not calling you into panic. I am calling you out of panic. I am not trying to make you afraid of what may happen tomorrow. I am reminding you that tomorrow is already known to me. I will already be there before you wake. I will be there before the first decision and before the first unexpected conversation. There are things you do not see. There are doors you almost walk through. There are conversations that could have pulled you backward. There are choices you nearly made while tired, hurt, angry, or desperate. And there are moments when what looked like a delay was actually mercy, giving you time to catch your breath. You thought nothing was happening because nothing changed on the surface. Yet I was working in places your eyes could not reach. Think about the Israelites standing before the sea. They saw water in front of them and danger behind them. To them, the situation looked closed from every direction, but the path existed before they could see it. I did not ask them to understand every detail. I asked them to trust me for the next step. That is what I am asking of you now. You have been carrying tomorrow in your chest, weighing yourself down before it arrived. You have replayed possible failures. You have imagined bad news. You have prepared answers for conversations that have not happened. You have tried to solve problems that do not even exist yet, and this constant preparation has worn your spirit thin. My beloved child, I see that exhaustion. I see the way you stare at the ceiling when the room is quiet. I see how your thoughts grow louder at night. I see the questions you do not say out loud because you are afraid someone will tell you that your faith is weak. You ask me whether I still see you. You ask whether I remember what you have been waiting for. You ask whether your prayers reach beyond the walls around you. Yes, I see you. Yes, I hear you. And no, your life has not slipped outside my care. You may feel as though you are standing in a hallway with no clear door open. You may feel that everyone else seems to know where they are going while you are still trying to understand the next few feet of your own path. But uncertainty does not mean abandonment. Sometimes I guide you with an open door. Sometimes I guide you with a closed one. Sometimes I guide you by giving you peace. Sometimes I guide you by making you uncomfortable enough to stop walking in a direction that is slowly draining your soul. You have called some of those moments rejection. I called them redirection. You called them disappointment. I saw protection hidden inside them. You called them wasted time. I saw roots growing where no applause could reach you. My beloved child, do not judge the entire story by the page you are standing on. I know you are tired of waiting. I know you want something clear. I know part of you wants me to tell you exactly what tomorrow will bring so you can finally relax. But peace does not come from knowing every detail. Peace comes from knowing who walks with you when the details are still hidden. Remember the words spoken through Isaiah. When you pass through deep waters, you will not pass through them alone. When fire surrounds you, it does not have permission to define who you become. That promise is not an invitation to ignore wisdom. It is not permission to become careless. It is a reminder that fear does not get to become your master. So before tomorrow comes, release the belief that one bad moment can destroy everything I am building in you. Release the belief that one closed door means your future is closed. Release the belief that one person's decision can erase your purpose. Release the belief that because you cannot see what I am doing, I must be doing nothing. You have survived seasons you once thought would finish you. There were mornings when getting out of bed felt like a victory nobody understood. There were nights when you had no elegant prayer, only a tired breath and a few broken words. There were moments when you smiled for people who never knew how close you were to tears. I saw every one of them. I was not waiting for you to sound stronger. I was not measuring your faith by how calm you looked. I was near you in the trembling. I was near you in the confusion. I was near you when all you could do was whisper my name, and I am near you now. My beloved child, this is why I asked you to stop. Not because I want you frightened about tomorrow, but because I do not want fear to steal today from you. You do not need to chase signs or force an answer tonight. Sit with me. Breathe. Let your heart become quiet enough to notice what fear has been saying and what truth has been saying. Fear tells you that everything depends on you. Truth reminds you that you are responsible for your next faithful step, but you were never asked to carry the whole future alone. There is more I need to show you. There are reasons some things have moved slowly. There are reasons certain doors stayed closed. There are reasons you felt silence where you expected an answer. Before you decide that my silence means distance, stay with me, because the next thing you need to understand is this. What felt like silence may have been the place where I was preparing you most deeply. My beloved child, what felt like silence may have been the place where I was preparing you most deeply. I know that is difficult to believe. You have been waiting for an answer, searching for direction, and wondering why heaven seemed quiet while your heart grew louder. You expected movement. You expected clarity. You expected some visible sign that I was still near. Instead, you found yourself sitting with questions that had no immediate answer. But that silence did not mean I was gone. I was not standing far away from you. I was not ignoring your prayers while giving attention to everyone around you. I was closer than you felt. There were moments when you asked me, Lord, do you still see me? Do you still care about what is happening inside me? Have you forgotten how long I have been carrying this? You watched other people move forward while you remained in a season that seemed painfully still. You saw doors open for them. You heard their good news. You smiled for them, but somewhere inside a quiet ache whispered, when will it be my turn, my beloved child? I heard that question too. I heard it when you spoke it. I heard it when you were too tired to speak. And while you thought I was silent, I was working in ways you could not measure. Think of Elijah when he stood on the mountain. There was wind shaking and fire all around. My voice was not in the noise. It came gently, quietly, close enough that he had to listen instead of react. You have sometimes expected me to answer with something dramatic because your pain felt that big. You wanted an unmistakable answer, a sudden change, a door thrown open in front of you. But some of my deepest work has happened without applause, without spectacle, and without an announcement. I was teaching you to recognize peace before opportunity. I was teaching you to wait before saying yes to every door that opened. There were people you wanted to keep close because losing them felt unbearable. Yet I could see how their presence was slowly teaching you to abandon yourself. There were opportunities you wanted because they looked like proof that your life was finally moving. Yet I could see the pressure, compromise, and confusion waiting behind them. So sometimes my answer came as restraint. Sometimes it came through an unsettled feeling that would not leave. But I was answering. My beloved child, my silence was often protection in plain clothes. It looked like a canceled plan. It looked like an opportunity that slipped away. And because you could not see what might have happened if everything went according to your plan, you assumed nothing good was happening. But I see beyond the moment. I see which relationships strengthen your character and which ones slowly teach you to live in fear. I see what you are ready to carry and what would crush you if it arrived too early. That is why I need you to stop interpreting every delay as rejection. Some closed doors have been boundaries you were not yet strong enough to set for yourself. Some seasons of waiting have protected you from making permanent decisions while you were temporarily wounded. Some unanswered questions have kept you close enough to learn what certainty never could have taught you. Remember Joseph. He did not understand the pit, the false accusation, or the prison while he was living through them. None of those places looked like preparation. They looked like interruption. Yet the story was still moving, even when his circumstances seemed frozen. I am telling you that pain does not remove my ability to work within your story. What others meant for harm does not have to become the final meaning of your life. I can meet you in places you never would have chosen and still teach you how to walk out with wisdom you did not have before. My beloved child, you have confused my quietness with distance because human silence has hurt you before. People used silence to punish you, control you, or make you question your worth. So when you could not feel me clearly, your heart reached for an old conclusion. Silence means I am being left again, but I am not like those who left. I do not use silence to make you beg for love. I do not step away to see whether you will chase me. I do not withdraw my presence because you ask difficult questions. I stay. Even when your emotions cannot detect me, I stay. Even when your faith feels small, I stay. The psalmist asked why I seemed far away in times of trouble, and still those prayers were welcomed into Scripture. Your questions do not frighten me. Your confusion does not make me ashamed of you. Your weariness does not disqualify you from being near me. Bring all of it. Bring the questions. Bring the disappointment. Bring the frustration you have been afraid to admit. I would rather receive your honest heart than hear a polished prayer hiding what you truly feel. You do not have to pretend with me. I already know. I knew when you sat in the car before walking into work because you needed one more minute to gather yourself. I knew when you checked your phone hoping for a message that never came. I knew when you stared at a bill and tried to calculate how you would make everything work. I knew when you told someone you were fine because explaining the truth felt too exhausting. I was there. And even in those moments, I was shaping something deeper than the immediate answer you wanted. I was teaching you endurance without making suffering your identity. I was teaching you discernment without making you suspicious of everyone. I was teaching you patience without asking you to become passive. I was teaching you how to trust me while still making wise choices, asking for help resting when needed, and taking the next responsible step. That preparation matters, because the next season of your life does not only require an open door, it requires a heart that can walk through that door without carrying every old fear into the new room. So do not despise what has been happening quietly. You may not see the full shape of it yet, but you are learning, you are noticing, you are becoming harder to rush and easier to guide. You are beginning to recognize that peace can speak before circumstances change. And now that you understand my silence was never absence, I need to take you somewhere even more personal, because while you were waiting for answers, I was also watching the pain you tried so hard to hide. Every private tear, every forced smile, every night you carried more than anyone knew. My beloved child, I saw every hidden moment you hoped no one would notice. My beloved child, I saw every hidden moment you hoped no one would notice. I saw the tears you wiped away before anyone could notice. I saw the smile you put back on your face. You did it so people wouldn't ask questions you were too tired to answer. I saw the way you kept showing up for everyone else, while something inside you was quietly asking who would show up for you. You have carried more than people know. There were mornings when your body moved through the routine. Your heart felt miles behind. Yet when the room became quiet again, the weight returned. My beloved child, I saw that weight. I saw the nights when you turned your face toward the wall. You did it so no one would hear you cry. I saw the moments when you held your breath. You did it just to keep from falling apart. I saw the times you stood in the bathroom and looked into the mirror. You wondered how much longer you could keep pretending that everything was fine. You thought your pain was invisible because people did not notice, but I noticed. You thought your prayers were weak because sometimes they were only a few words, but I heard them. You thought your tears disappeared into a pillow, a parked car, a dark room, or the quiet space between one difficult day and the next. But nothing about your pain was lost to me. I do not turn away from what feels messy, embarrassing, or hard to explain in your life. I am present there too. You have asked why certain things had to hurt so much. Why did someone you trusted change? Why did an opportunity disappear just when you thought it was finally yours? Why did a prayer seem to receive silence instead of the answer you expected? Why did you have to keep walking after you felt emptied? My beloved child, I will not give you a shallow answer to deep pain. Not every wound was something I desired for you. Not every betrayal was my plan. Not every loss should be called good simply because you survived it. But there is something I need you to understand. Nothing that happened has the authority to remove me from your story. I can enter what was broken and begin rebuilding. I can take what confused you and slowly teach you wisdom. I can use a season you would never choose to strengthen boundaries you once struggled to hold. I can meet you in disappointment and show you that a closed door is not the same as a closed future. There were doors you begged me to reopen. You could see what was attractive on the other side, but you could not see everything. You could not see what staying there would have required you to become. You could not see the compromises that might have slowly silenced your conscience. You could not see how much of yourself you might have abandoned just to keep something that looked beautiful from the outside. So when the door remained closed, you felt rejected. Sometimes I was protecting you. When the conversation ended, you thought you had lost your chance. Sometimes I was creating distance from something that had already begun draining your peace. When the plan fell apart, you thought you had failed. Sometimes the collapse revealed a foundation that was never strong enough to carry your future. My beloved child, do not confuse every disappointment with destruction. Remember how David was overlooked before he was called from the field. The place that seemed ordinary was not empty. The years that looked hidden were shaping courage long before anyone placed a crown near him. He learned to face lions and bears before he faced Goliath. Your hidden seasons have also taught you things public success could never teach. You learned how to keep going without applause. You learned how to pray when emotion was gone. You learned which voices calm your spirit and which ones leave you more confused. You learned that being needed is not the same as being loved. You learned that saying yes to everyone can become another way of abandoning yourself. You learned that exhaustion is not always a sign of faithfulness. Sometimes it is a warning that something needs to change. I saw each lesson being formed. I saw you slowly becoming more honest. I saw you beginning to recognize patterns you once excused. I saw you questioning relationships that required you to shrink. I saw you learning that forgiveness does not require giving everyone unlimited access to your life. I saw you discover that peace sometimes arrives after you stop chasing an explanation. None of this means the pain was easy. I know there were moments when you felt forgotten. I know there were days when hearing another person's good news made you happy for them and sad for yourself at the same time. I know you felt guilty for that sadness. You do not need to hide it from me. Bring me the complicated emotions too. Bring me the jealousy you do not want to admit. Bring me the anger. Bring me the grief for what should have happened but did not. Bring me the disappointment you covered with religious words. You thought honest pain would offend me. My beloved child, I am not asking for a performance. I am asking for you. Think of Hannah praying with such deep anguish that others misunderstood what they were seeing. Her pain was not polished. Her prayer was not a public performance. She brought the ache honestly. You can do the same. You do not have to make your tears sound spiritual. I will still receive them. You do not have to explain why you are tired. You do not have to apologize for needing rest. You do not have to pretend the wound stopped hurting simply because time passed. Let me meet you where it still hurts. And as I meet you there, let me show you something else. The pain that tried to convince you that you were forgotten does not get to name you. The rejection that made you question your worth does not get to define you. The failure you replay in your mind does not get to become your identity. The people who misunderstood you do not get the final word over who you are. You have looked at your scars and sometimes called them proof that something is wrong with you, but scars can also prove that a wound did not become the end of the story. My beloved child, you are still here, still learning, still praying, still becoming. The same tears you thought revealed only weakness have not gone unnoticed. They show how deeply you have continued to hope. Now I need you to listen carefully because pain is not the only voice speaking to you. There are lies that have been growing around these wounds. Lies about your worth, lies about whether you are loved, lies about whether your future can change. And if you do not recognize them, you may mistake those lies for your own identity. My beloved child, those lies have been trying to grow roots inside the places where you were wounded. They did not always arrive loudly. Sometimes they sounded like your own thoughts. You are too far behind. You have failed too many times. You are difficult to love. Nothing will ever change. Everyone eventually leaves. You should stop expecting anything better. I need you to recognize those voices for what they are. Pain can speak, fear can speak, shame can speak, and the enemy can use all three to distort the way you see yourself. But none of them have the authority to name you. My beloved child, you have walked through seasons that felt like fire. You thought the heat meant you were being destroyed. Yet some of what burned away was never meant to follow you into the future. False confidence burned away. The need to please everyone began to weaken. Old attachments lost their grip. You started seeing where fear had been making decisions for you. The fire was painful, but pain did not get the final word. Think about gold being refined. The heat does not create the gold. It reveals what was already precious and removes what does not belong. In the same way, your hardest seasons have exposed both the strength I placed within you and the patterns that still needed healing. That does not mean every painful event came from me. It means nothing is beyond my ability to redeem. What tried to make you bitter can become wisdom. What tried to silence you can become compassion. What tried to make you ashamed can become the place where you finally understand grace. What tried to convince you that your life was over can become part of your testimony. It can remind someone else not to give up. But listen carefully. The enemy knows that if he cannot erase your future, he will try to corrupt how you see yourself. He does this while you are walking toward it. He does not always need to stop your progress. Sometimes he only needs to convince you that you are unworthy of progress. He whispers that your mistakes define you. He reminds you of what you did when you were scared, lonely, angry, or immature. He takes an old failure and pins it up like evidence in a courtroom. He hopes you will become both the accused and the judge. My beloved child, stop reopening cases that grace has already addressed. You are allowed to learn from your past without living underneath it. You are allowed to take responsibility without turning it into self-hatred. You are allowed to repent without building your identity around the worst thing you have done. Remember Peter. He denied Jesus when fear took control of him. That failure was real. It mattered. But it was not the last chapter of his life. After resurrection, he was not discarded. He was restored, questioned with love, and called forward into responsibility. Your failure can teach you without becoming your name. The enemy tells you that because you fell, you are a failure. I tell you that falling is an event, not an identity. The enemy tells you that because someone rejected you, you must be rejectable. I tell you that another person's inability to love well does not define your value. The enemy tells you that because you have waited a long time, you have been forgotten. I tell you that waiting does not erase purpose. The enemy tells you that your wounds make you damaged goods. I tell you that wounds need care, not condemnation. My beloved child, you are mine. Let that truth settle deeper than the accusations. You are not an accident I regret. You are not a burden I tolerate. You are not standing outside my love, hoping to earn your way inside. You belong to me. Scripture says that nothing can separate you from the love of God. Not trouble, not hardship, not fear, not the powers you cannot see, not the failures you wish you could erase. My love is not fragile enough to collapse because your life became complicated. You are loved while you are healing. You are loved while you are learning. You are loved while you are rebuilding trust. You are loved while you are still figuring out what obedience looks like in the places where fear once ruled you. Do not confuse growth with rejection. When I correct you, I am not throwing you away. When I expose a pattern, I am not humiliating you. When I ask you to release something, I am not trying to empty your life. I am making room for truth. There have been relationships where you kept shrinking because you were afraid that being fully honest would make someone leave. There have been rooms where you laughed at things that hurt you because you wanted to belong. There have been moments when you apologized for having needs, boundaries, or convictions. That is what fear does. It teaches you to trade pieces of yourself for temporary acceptance. But my beloved child, I am not calling you to become harder. I am calling you to become clearer. Clear about who you are. Clear about what you will no longer agree with. Clear about the difference between humility and self-erasure. Clear about the difference between forgiveness and returning to the same harmful pattern. Clear about the difference between love and fear dressed as loyalty. The more clearly you know who you are in me, the less power lies have over your decisions. So when the thought comes, I am not enough, answer it with truth. When the thought comes, I will always be alone, answer it with truth. When the thought comes, nothing good can happen for someone like me, answer it with truth. Do not answer with empty positive words. Answer with what I have already shown you. You have survived days you thought would break you. You have learned from things that once controlled you. You have become more discerning. You have become more honest. You have begun to recognize peace instead of chasing intensity. That is evidence of growth. My beloved child, the enemy wants you staring backward. Shame becomes weaker when you begin walking forward. He wants you measuring your future by your worst memory. But I am teaching you to measure your next step by truth. You are chosen to live awake. You are called to walk in grace. You are loved enough to be corrected and safe enough to change. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are not beyond restoration. And you are not walking alone. Now I want you to look back at the seasons when you thought you had no strength left. Look at the nights you somehow survived. Look at the mornings when you stood up even though your heart felt exhausted. There is something you need to understand about those moments. You were not carrying yourself by your own strength alone. My beloved child, before we speak about what may be opening ahead, you need to remember who was holding you. I was holding you when everything behind you was trying to fall apart. My beloved child, before you look too far ahead, remember who was holding you when everything behind you was falling apart. You have called yourself weak because there were days when you could barely function. You have judged yourself for needing rest, for crying, for losing focus, for not knowing what to do next. But weakness was never proof that I had left you. Many times weakness became the moment you realized you were never meant to carry everything alone. There were nights when your thoughts became so heavy that sleep would not come. There were mornings when your body felt tired before the day even began. There were moments when one more problem seemed like it would be too much. You looked at your circumstances and said, "I cannot keep doing this," and yet you kept moving. Not perfectly, not without tears, not without fear, but you moved. My beloved child, that strength did not appear from nowhere. I was near you in ways you did not always recognize. Sometimes I gave you enough courage to make one phone call. Sometimes I gave you enough peace to stay quiet instead of reacting. Sometimes I placed one trustworthy person beside you. Sometimes I gave you enough clarity to say no to what was draining you. Sometimes I simply helped you get through 1 hour without giving up. You waited for a dramatic rescue, but more often I carried you through small mercies. A meal when you had forgotten to care for yourself. A friend who checked on you at the right time. A scripture that came back to your mind when fear was getting loud. A sudden moment of calm in the middle of a difficult conversation. A small decision that prevented a larger mistake. Do not overlook those things because they were quiet. My beloved child, I have never needed noise to prove my presence. Remember Paul when he asked for the struggle to be removed. He heard that grace would be enough for him. The answer was not that weakness was meaningless. The answer was that my strength could meet him there. You have lived that truth more times than you realize. You thought you survived because you forced yourself to become tougher. But there were moments when toughness was gone. You thought you survived because you had a perfect plan. But some seasons destroyed every plan you made. You thought you survived because you understood what was happening. But there were days when nothing made sense. Still, you are here. That matters. You made it through conversations that changed relationships. You made it through financial pressure that kept your mind awake. You made it through disappointment you never expected. You made it through seasons when the future looked smaller every day. You made it through the humiliation of starting again. You made it through grief that changed the way familiar rooms felt. And while I will not tell you that every painful thing was sent by me, I will tell you that none of those things were strong enough to separate you from my presence. My beloved child, I was holding you even when holding you did not feel like comfort. Sometimes it looked like restraint. You wanted to send the message, but something told you to wait. You wanted to return to the familiar relationship, but peace disappeared every time you considered it. You wanted to make a desperate decision because uncertainty felt unbearable, but another path slowly became visible. You wanted everything fixed immediately, but I kept bringing your attention back to the next faithful step. That was not cruelty. That was care. You could not see the whole storm. I could see where the current was pulling. Psalm after psalm speaks of me as refuge, shelter, rock, and defender. Those images do not promise that storms never reach you. They remind you where to stand when they do, and you have been learning where to stand. You are learning not to build your peace on another person's mood. You are learning not to let one setback decide how you see your entire future. You are learning that urgency is not always guidance. You are learning that silence can be wiser than explanation. You are learning that you can love people without following them into chaos. You are learning that faith does not mean refusing help. Faith can look like prayer and counseling, prayer and a budget, prayer and a doctor's appointment, prayer and an honest conversation, prayer and finally getting the rest your body has been asking for. I have been carrying you toward maturity, not passivity. My beloved child, look at how much has already changed inside you. There are things that once would have made you panic that now make you pause. There are words that once would have sent you chasing approval that now make you step back and think. There are people you once believed you could not live without, and now you understand that losing yourself to keep someone is not love. There are disappointments that once looked like the end, and now you can see that an ending sometimes creates the space where healing begins. This is why I do not want you staring only at what was lost. Something has also been built. Endurance has been built. Discernment has been built. compassion has been built. Boundaries have been built. A quieter kind of courage has been built. You may still feel tired, but you are not the same person who entered the storm. My beloved child, there may be new doors ahead of you. There may be opportunities, relationships, responsibilities, and decisions that require the wisdom you learned in hidden seasons. I am not asking you to assume that every door will open or that every desire will arrive exactly as you imagined. I am asking you to recognize that your story still has movement in it. The future is not empty simply because you cannot see it yet. The God who met you in the storm will not disappear when the sky begins to clear. So lift your eyes slowly, not with pressure, not with fantasy, with trust. There are parts of your life that can still be rebuilt. There are dreams that may need to be reshaped rather than buried. There are relationships that may need healing and others that may need distance. There are gifts in you that hardship has not erased. There are faithful steps waiting for your feet. But before you rush toward what comes next, there is something you must stop carrying, because surviving can leave traces. Fear can stay in the body after danger passes. Shame can follow you even after you have changed. Bitterness can feel like protection when it is actually keeping the wound open. My beloved child, I carried you through the storm so you would not have to drag the storm into every new room. You do not need yesterday's armor in the places I lead you. Now let me show you how grace teaches you to release what no longer belongs in your hands. My beloved child, now let me show you how grace teaches you. It teaches you to release what no longer belongs in your hands. You have carried survival habits for so long. Some of them feel like part of your personality. You brace for disappointment before anything happens. You replay old conversations. You expect people to leave. You prepare yourself for rejection before anyone has even spoken. You call it being realistic. Often, it is fear trying to protect a wound that never learned how to rest. And as you move closer to something new, those old fears may become louder. That does not mean you are going backward. It means what has been hidden is coming into the light. My beloved child, the enemy would love to use your past against you at the exact moment you begin to move forward. He will remind you of what you did when you were confused. He will point to moments when your judgment failed. He will tell you that you are not ready, not worthy, not spiritual enough. He will tell you that you are not disciplined enough, not healed enough. But listen carefully. My love for you has never depended on flawless performance. Grace is not a paycheck you earn after proving that you finally deserve me. Grace is a gift. You cannot purchase it with good behavior. You cannot lose it because you had a difficult week. You cannot make me love you more by pretending to be stronger than you are. Remember the woman brought before Jesus after being publicly shamed. He did not pretend sin did not matter, but neither did he join the crowd that wanted to reduce her entire life to one failure. Mercy met her, then called her forward. Grace does not tell you that nothing matters. Grace tells you that your worst moment does not have to become your permanent address. My beloved child, you are allowed to change. You are allowed to outgrow the version of yourself that made decisions from fear. You are allowed to stop punishing yourself for lessons you have already begun to learn. You are allowed to become wiser without becoming cruel toward who you used to be. So I want you to open your hands. There is bitterness in your hands. You have held it because someone hurt you and never apologized. Part of you thinks releasing bitterness means saying what happened was acceptable. It does not. Forgiveness does not rename wrong as right. It does not require you to return to unsafe patterns. It does not erase boundaries. It means you stop allowing another person's offense to keep living inside you rent-free. You can forgive and still say no. You can forgive and still walk away. You can forgive and still require change before trust is rebuilt. My beloved child, release the need to make bitterness your bodyguard. I can teach you wisdom without keeping your heart poisoned. Now look at the shame you carry. Shame speaks differently. Bitterness says they hurt me. Shame says there must be something wrong with me. Shame takes one mistake and turns it into an identity. It tells you that if people knew the whole story, they would leave. It tells you to hide. It tells you to perform. But remember the father who ran toward the returning son. The son came home rehearsing a speech about why he no longer deserved to belong. Yet the father moved toward him before the speech could become the final definition of their relationship. My beloved child, come home without rehearsing why you are unworthy. Bring me the truth. Bring me what you regret. Bring me what you still do not understand. Repent where repentance is needed. Make amends where wisdom allows. Take responsibility where responsibility is yours. But do not carry shame as if it were proof of humility. Humility tells the truth. Shame tells you that you are the mistake. They are not the same. And then there is fear. Fear has been sitting beside you for so long. Sometimes you consult it before you consult me. Should I trust this person? Fear answers first. Should I apply for this opportunity? Fear reminds you of the last rejection. Should I speak honestly? Fear shows you every possible consequence. Should I rest? Fear tells you everything will fall apart if you stop controlling it. My beloved child, I am not asking you to become careless. I am asking you to stop letting fear impersonate wisdom. Wisdom can say no without panic. Wisdom can wait without imagining disaster. Wisdom can ask questions. Wisdom can gather facts. Wisdom can move slowly. Fear rushes you because it wants immediate relief. My peace gives you room to choose. So stay close to me in the days ahead. I want relationship. Speak to me honestly. If you are angry, say it. If you are afraid, say it. If you are confused, say it. If you are grateful, say that too. You do not need impressive language. Some of the truest prayers are simple. Help me, guide me, give me wisdom. Keep my heart soft. Show me what I cannot see. Teach me what to release. My beloved child, open Scripture, not as a superstition, but as a place where your mind can be retrained by truth. When fear says you are alone, remember that I have promised to remain near. When shame says you are beyond mercy, remember how often Scripture tells stories of people restored after failure. When bitterness says revenge will heal you, remember that vengeance does not belong in your hands. Let truth interrupt the old scripts and look carefully at the people around you. Some relationships help you become more honest, peaceful, responsible, and grounded. Others keep pulling you back into gossip, resentment, confusion, comparison, and chaos. You do not need to hate anyone, but you do need discernment. Distance can be loving, boundaries can be faithful. Choosing a healthier room does not mean you think you are better than the people you left behind. It can simply mean you finally understand what your spirit needs in order to heal. My beloved child, grace is not only something you receive, grace changes how you walk. It teaches you to release what you cannot control. It teaches you to forgive without surrendering wisdom. It teaches you to tell the truth without condemning yourself. It teaches you to pray honestly instead of performing. It teaches you to choose peace without becoming passive. And as your hands begin to open, you will notice something important. There is more room in your hands than there used to be. Room for wisdom, room for responsibility, room for healthier love, room for new opportunities, room for joy that does not depend on pretending the past never happened. My beloved child, I did not carry you through the storm only to leave you standing empty on the other side. There are parts of your life where restoration may begin to take shape in ways you have not expected. But before you decide what restoration must look like, stay close, because what I want to rebuild in you may reach farther than the one area you have been watching. My beloved child, what I want to rebuild in you may reach beyond the single area you have been watching. You may have been praying about one relationship, one financial pressure, one health concern, or one wound. Your attention has stayed there because that pain has been loudest. But restoration is rarely only about one visible problem. Sometimes I begin in one place and teach your whole life to breathe again. You may ask me to change your circumstances. I may also begin changing the way you respond to them. You may ask me to restore a relationship. I may first restore your ability to recognize what healthy love actually looks like. You may ask me for provision. I may also teach you stewardship, patience, courage, and the wisdom to stop making decisions from panic. You may ask me to heal a wounded heart. I may begin by showing you where you have been abandoning your own needs, just to keep everyone else comfortable. My beloved child, do not assume restoration only means getting back what was lost. Sometimes restoration means receiving something different, something wiser, something healthier, something that does not require you to become small in order to keep it. Think about the man by the pool who had been waiting for years. Jesus did not only speak to his condition, he asked a question that reached deeper. Do you want to be made well? It was about stepping into a different way of living. That is what I am inviting you to consider. What if the restoration you have been praying for includes your habits, your sleep, your boundaries, your confidence, your ability to ask for help? Your willingness to stop returning to what keeps reopening the same wound. What if I am restoring your life by teaching you to choose differently? My beloved child, there are areas where you may begin to notice change slowly. A conversation that once filled you with dread may become easier because you no longer need to control the outcome. A bill that once sent you into panic may still need attention. Now you face it with a plan instead of avoiding it. A relationship may not return to what it was, but you may finally have the clarity to stop confusing history with safety. Your body may still need care and time. You may begin treating yourself with compassion instead of anger. Restoration can be quiet before it becomes visible. A house is not restored only by painting the front door. Sometimes the wiring must be repaired. Sometimes the foundation must be examined. Sometimes a room must be emptied before use. And sometimes what cannot be repaired must be released. You have wanted me to change what people can see. I have also been working where no one applauds, in your thinking, in your reactions, in your standards, in the way you speak to yourself when you make a mistake, in the way you recognize peace, in the way you no longer excuse chaos as normal, in the way you are learning that love does not require constant anxiety. My beloved child, this inner restoration matters because external change without inner healing can become another cycle. If you receive more money but still make every decision from fear, the fear follows you. If you enter a relationship but still believe you must earn love by overgiving, the old wound comes into the new relationship. If you receive a new opportunity but still think your worth depends on proving yourself success, becomes another prison. I want more for you than a different setting with the same pain. I want truth to reach the roots. Remember Zacchaeus. His encounter with Jesus changed more than his reputation. It changed how he handled what had been placed in his hands. Restoration touched his choices, his relationships, and his responsibility. That is the kind of wholeness I want you to understand. Not perfection, wholeness, a life where your faith and your choices begin moving in the same direction. A life where prayer does not replace responsibility but strengthens it. A life where hope does not make you passive but gives you courage to act wisely. A life where forgiveness does not erase discernment. A life where generosity does not mean neglecting your own obligations. A life where compassion does not require giving unsafe people unlimited access. My beloved child, there may be restoration ahead. There may be work that becomes more stable. There may be financial breathing room through opportunity, discipline, and wise decisions. There may be relationships that become healthier because honest conversations happen. There may be relationships that cannot continue in the old form, and peace may come through accepting that truth. Healing may come through prayer, community counseling, or medical care, or through rest, repentance, and time. Do not decide in advance which tool I am allowed to use. Do not close yourself off to ordinary help while you wait for something dramatic. I have often worked through people, through a physician, through a wise friend, through a pastor who listens, through a counselor who helps you name what you have been carrying, through an employer who gives you a chance, through a stranger who opens a needed door. Every good thing does not have to arrive with thunder. Sometimes restoration sounds like a phone call. Sometimes it looks like paperwork. Sometimes it looks like finally sleeping through the night. Sometimes it is the courage to say, I need help. Sometimes it is the strength to say, I cannot keep living this way. My beloved child, what embarrassed you does not have to remain the place where your story ends. The room where you cried may one day become a room where you realize how much has changed. The season you were ashamed to talk about may become the season that gives you compassion for someone else. The mistake that humbled you may teach you how to guide another person without judging them. Your scars do not make you superior. They make you capable of remembering what pain feels like. And that memory can make your kindness honest. So prepare yourself for restoration that is wider than your original prayer. Not because I am promising that every relationship will return, every illness will disappear, or financial problems will vanish overnight, but because no area of your life is too ordinary for my wisdom, too complicated for my presence, or too wounded for me to meet you there. Stay open, stay honest, stay responsible, stay close to me. And as restoration begins to reach your thinking, your relationships, your habits, your decisions, and your hopes, remember what holds all of it together. It is not your performance. It is not your ability to keep everything under control. It is not your strength. My beloved child, underneath every lesson, every correction, every new beginning, and every act of rebuilding, there is something older and stronger than your pain. My love for you did not begin when you became stronger, and it did not leave when you fell apart. Now let me remind you how near that love has always been. My beloved child, now let me remind you how near my love has always been. You have spent so much time looking for evidence that I was still with you. You sometimes missed the quiet ways I was already holding you. You expected love to arrive as an answer, a changed circumstance, or a sudden feeling. But my love was present before any of those things changed. I loved you in the waiting. I loved you in the confusion. I loved you when you had no strength left to impress anyone. I loved you when you sat alone and wondered whether anyone in the world truly understood what was happening inside your heart. My beloved child, I know the nights when the room felt too quiet. I know the moments when you looked at your phone and realized there was no one you wanted to call. Explaining everything felt impossible. I know what it was like to be surrounded by people and still feel unseen. You answered when they asked if you were okay, but inside there was a part of you whispering, "Does anyone really know me?" I did. I knew the thoughts you edited before speaking. I knew the fears you hid because you did not want to become a burden. I knew the disappointment behind the smile. I knew the tiredness you covered with responsibility. My beloved child, human love has sometimes taught you to expect distance. People have been warm one day and cold the next. Some promised they would stay, then disappeared when your life became inconvenient. Some enjoyed your strength but did not know what to do with your weakness. Some listened only until your pain required patience. Those experiences trained your heart to watch for signs of abandonment. So when you could not feel me clearly, you assumed I must be leaving too. But I am not like that. My love does not depend on your being easy to understand. It does not disappear when you are grieving. It does not become smaller when you question me. It does not withdraw because you are exhausted. It does not punish you for needing time to heal. Remember the words of the psalmist. Even if you rise into the heavens, or make your bed in the deepest place, you are not beyond my presence. Darkness does not hide you from me. That is not poetry meant only for peaceful days. It is truth for the nights when you cannot feel anything. My beloved child, I was there when you whispered into the dark. I was there when you could not pray beyond one sentence. I was there when your chest felt tight and your thoughts would not slow down. I was there when you drove home in silence because music felt like too much. I was there when you sat in a parking lot and gathered yourself. You were about to walk into a room where everyone expected you to be strong. I was there when you cried after everyone went to sleep, not watching you from a distance, near, present, holding what you could not explain. There were times when you asked, "Where are you?" You thought that question offended me. It did not. Jesus himself cried out in anguish. Scripture does not hide human pain from me. It brings pain into my presence, so bring yours. You do not need to protect me from your disappointment. You do not need to pretend that waiting has been easy. You do not need to call every painful thing a blessing, not before you have even had time to grieve. I can handle the truth of what you feel. My beloved child, my love is not fragile. It does not need you to perform gratitude while your heart is breaking. It invites you to come honestly. When you are angry, come. When you are numb, come. When you are afraid, come. When you are relieved, come. When you finally laugh again, come then too. I am not only the God of your crisis, I am also present in the ordinary return of life, in the morning light across the kitchen floor, in the first deep breath after a hard conversation ends, in a meal that tastes good again, in the moment you realize you went an entire afternoon without replaying the thing that hurt you. Sometimes healing begins when your body finally learns that it does not have to remain on alert every minute. Sometimes love feels less like fireworks and more like a safe place. My beloved child, that is part of what I want you to receive. You have often mistaken intensity for closeness. Because some human relationships were unpredictable, calm felt unfamiliar. You learned to chase reassurance. You learned to read every silence. You learned to overthink changes in tone. You learned to work for affection, but my love does not require you to chase it. I am not asking you to earn the right to be near me. I am already near. Think of Jesus resting in the boat. The storm frightened the disciples. They assumed the storm meant they were forgotten, yet the one they needed was already in the boat with them. My beloved child, sometimes you are searching the horizon for rescue while forgetting who is already beside you. I have not promised that every storm will disappear the moment you ask, but I have promised that you do not face the storm alone. That changes how you stand in it. You can breathe. You can ask for wisdom. You can take the next responsible step without pretending you know the entire path. You can let trusted people help you. You can rest without believing that rest means failure. You can stop measuring my love by how quickly circumstances change. My beloved child, my love was with you before the answer. It is with you during the waiting. It will remain with you after the situation changes. That is why your security cannot rest only on outcomes. Outcomes move, people change, plans fail, bodies grow tired, money comes and goes. But my love is not another unstable thing you must manage. You belong to me. Let that become a place of rest inside you. Not a slogan, not something you repeat because you think you should. A truth you slowly allow your nervous heart to believe. You are loved when you feel useful. You are loved when you have nothing to give. You are loved when your faith feels strong. You are loved when all you can offer is a tired whisper. My beloved child, there is something deeper beneath your loneliness that I want to touch next. Because some of your fear of being alone did not begin in this season. It began much earlier. It began when people you trusted left, changed, withdrew, or wounded you. Those moments taught you conclusions about yourself that were never true. And now that you know my love never left you, I want to walk with you into the wound that still asks a painful question. If they could leave you, does that mean you were never worth staying for? My beloved child, no. Their leaving did not prove that you were never worth staying for. I know that question has followed you for years. Sometimes it rises from something much older. It comes from a childhood memory when the person you needed most was emotionally distant, unpredictable, or simply not there. You learned early that people can disappear. You learned that promises can change. You learned that affection can feel warm one day and cold the next. And without realizing it, you began building an explanation around yourself. Maybe I ask for too much. Maybe I am too difficult. Maybe I am not enough. Maybe people always leave because something is wrong with me. My beloved child, that conclusion was born from pain, not truth. A child often cannot understand the limitations of the adults around them. So when love feels inconsistent, the child does not say they are wounded, overwhelmed, immature, or unable to love well. The child often says, it must be me. It entered dating. It entered marriage. It entered the way you reacted when someone became distant. It made you watch every change in tone. It made you over-explain. It made you apologize for needs that were reasonable. It made you hold on too tightly because losing someone felt like proof of an old fear. My beloved child, I want to separate what happened to you from who you are. Someone leaving is an event. It is not a definition. Someone failing to protect you is a wound. It is not your identity. Someone choosing another path is not a verdict on your worth. You have given too many people the authority to name you. They had the power to hurt you. I am asking you to take that authority back. Remember Hagar in the wilderness. She felt pushed aside alone, uncertain about what would happen next. Yet in that lonely place, she discovered that I was the God who saw her. She was not invisible because others treated her as disposable. My beloved child, neither are you. I saw the day you realized you were fighting to keep a relationship. The other person had already stopped tending it. And I saw how quickly you turned their distance into an accusation against yourself. You asked, what did I do wrong? Sometimes that is a wise question. There are moments when you should reflect, apologize, and grow, but there are also moments when someone leaves because of who they are. They leave for what they fear, what they want, what they refuse to face, or the season they choose. Not every departure is evidence of your failure. My beloved child, healing means learning the difference. You can take responsibility for your part without owning the whole. You can admit where you were reactive without calling yourself unlovable. You can recognize where you ignored warning signs without calling yourself foolish forever. You can grieve what happened without turning grief into self-punishment. That is maturity. And maturity does not require you to hate the people who hurt you. Some of them were carrying wounds they never learned to name. Some repeated patterns that were handed to them. Some loved you with the only tools they had, and those tools were still not enough to make the relationship safe. Compassion can understand that without inviting the same harm back into your life. My beloved child, forgiveness and access are not the same thing. You can release resentment and still maintain distance. You can pray for someone and still decline the next invitation. You can remember the good and still admit the relationship was unhealthy. You can love someone and accept that you cannot build your future around their instability. This is part of healing the wound of being left. You stop begging the past to come back and prove that you were worthy all along. You stop needing the person who hurt you to become the person who heals you. You stop waiting for an apology before you allow your heart to move. If an apology comes, receive it with wisdom. If change follows, watch the fruit over time. If no apology comes, your healing is still allowed to continue. My beloved child, I know this is difficult because part of you still wants a different ending. You imagine one conversation where they finally understand, one message where they admit everything, one moment where they look at you and say, "You were never the problem." But your freedom cannot depend on another person finally speaking the sentence your heart needed years ago. Let me speak truth deeper than their silence. You were worth loving when they were confused. You were worth protecting when they failed to protect you. You were worth listening to when they dismissed your feelings. You were worth honesty when they chose avoidance. Your worth did not rise when someone chose you, and it did not fall when someone walked away. My beloved child, even Jesus knew the pain of people leaving. Crowds turned away, friends scattered in fear. Peter denied knowing him. Betrayal came from someone close enough to share the table. So do not believe that being abandoned means you must have lacked value. Sometimes people leave what is valuable because they do not know how to remain faithful to it. Sometimes they leave because commitment exposes parts of themselves they do not want to face. Sometimes they leave because their desires have changed. And sometimes a relationship ends because two people cannot keep walking in the same direction. Painful does not always mean meaningless. It can reveal where you depended too heavily on another person's approval. It can reveal where you ignored your own boundaries. It can reveal where you confused being chosen with being secure. It can reveal where you were asking another human being to carry a weight only I was meant to carry. My beloved child, I want you to become secure enough that love is something you receive and give, not something you chase to prove you deserve existence. You do not need to audition for belonging. You do not need to perform usefulness so people will keep you around. You do not need to become easier, quieter, smaller, richer, more successful, or more impressive just to make abandonment less likely. Healthy love is not built by hiding yourself. It is built with truth, mutual responsibility, respect, patience, and freedom. And when someone cannot offer those things, their limitation does not become your identity. My beloved child, let the wound begin to close, not by pretending it never happened, not by erasing memory, but by refusing to let the departure keep naming you. You are still here, still loved, still capable of connection, still capable of wisdom, still capable of beginning again. Because once you started doubting whether you were worth staying for, you began trying to prove your worth in other ways, through achievement, through usefulness, through being needed, through being strong. My beloved child, you were never meant to spend your life earning a value that was already yours. My beloved child, you were never meant to spend your life earning a value that was already yours. Yet I know how you learned to measure yourself by what you produced and achieved. You counted fixes, provisions, and endurance. Somewhere along the way, being useful started to feel safer than simply being loved. If you could help enough people work hard, stay strong, or succeed enough, maybe no one would have a reason to overlook you. But that way of living has exhausted you. You have treated your life like a report card. A good week made you feel worthy. A mistake made you question everything. A promotion made you breathe easier. A rejection made you wonder whether you had fallen behind. Praise lifted you. Silence unsettled you. And because the world rewards what can be seen, you began forgetting how much of your growth happened where nobody watched. My beloved child, I saw those hidden victories. I saw you choose patience when anger would have been easier. I saw you walk away from a conversation before saying something you would regret. I saw you apologize when pride wanted to defend itself. I saw you keep a promise no one would have known you broke. I saw you show kindness when you were tired. I saw you begin again after failure without announcing it to anyone. Those moments mattered to me. The world may not celebrate them because they rarely come with applause, money, titles, followers, or trophies. But character is often built in rooms where nobody claps. Remember Samuel standing before the sons of Jesse. Human eyes were drawn to appearance, height, and what looked impressive. But I reminded him that people look at the outward appearance while I look at the heart. My beloved child, I look deeper than the surface. I see why you made the decision, not only how it looked. I see the courage it took for you to get out of bed when no one knew how heavy your heart was. I see the restraint it took not to return to a relationship simply because loneliness became uncomfortable. I see the discipline behind choices that will never become public. Your worth is not created by visible success. Success can be good. Achievement can be meaningful. Work can be honorable. Money can be useful. But none of those things are strong enough to carry the weight of your identity. If your worth depends on success, every setback becomes a threat. If your worth depends on money, every financial problem becomes a verdict. If your worth depends on being needed, every boundary feels dangerous. If your worth depends on admiration, every room becomes an audition. My beloved child, I want to free you from that exhausting stage. You already have it. You do not have to become impressive enough for me to stay. I am not leaving. I already know the whole story. This is why grace is so hard for a performance-driven heart to receive. Grace does not ask you to prove that you deserve love first. It meets you before the proof. Think about the thief beside Jesus. He had no lifetime left to rebuild his reputation, collect achievements, or convince everyone that he was worthy. He simply turned toward mercy with the little time he had. My beloved child, that does not mean your choices do not matter. They matter. Faithfulness matters. Responsibility matters. Repentance matters. Growth matters. But these things are responses to love, not payments for it. You do not obey so that I will finally decide to love you. You learn to obey because you are loved, and you are learning to trust the one who loves you. There is a difference. One creates fear. The other creates freedom. When fear controls you, every mistake becomes evidence that you are failing. When grace teaches you, a mistake becomes something you can face, honestly correct where possible, learn from, and leave behind. My beloved child, I know you have been hard on yourself. You have looked at people your age and compared timelines. You have wondered why they seem further ahead. They bought the house, they built the career, they found the relationship, they appear confident. And you look at your own unfinished places and think you should have become more by now. But you do not know the whole story of anyone else's life. And comparison is a cruel accountant. It counts what others have and ignores what it cost them. It counts what you lack and ignores what you survived. It notices your unfinished goals and forgets the wisdom you had to gain slowly. My beloved child, stop allowing someone else's chapter to become the ruler you use against your own life. You are not late simply because your path looks different. You are not worthless because something took longer. You are not less loved because another person received something you still desire. Your life is not a race against everyone around you. Walk faithfully with what is in your hands today. If you have work to do, do it with integrity. If you need to rest, rest without turning rest into shame. If you need to learn, become teachable. If you need help, ask. If you need to begin again, begin without making your previous ending your identity. My beloved child, I am not asking you to abandon ambition. I am asking you to stop making ambition your master. Build, create, serve, study, work, grow, but do not hand your soul to the outcome. You can pursue excellence without thinking that excellence makes you lovable. You can want financial stability without believing a bank balance measures your worth. You can desire a healthy relationship without believing singleness makes you incomplete. You can care about your appearance without letting a mirror decide whether you deserve tenderness. You can accomplish beautiful things without turning achievement into the God you must constantly feed. My beloved child, your deepest value begins with belonging. You are mine. That truth existed before your greatest achievement. It remained after your worst failure. It was present when you felt confident. It remained when you could barely recognize yourself. My love does not rise when you perform well and fall when you struggle. It is not weather, it is foundation. So let yourself step off the stage for a moment. Let the applause disappear. Let the comparisons quiet down. Let the imaginary audience go home. Who are you when there is nothing to prove? You are still my beloved child. And when that truth begins to settle, ordinary life starts to change. A quiet morning becomes enough. A simple prayer becomes meaningful. A drive home can become a place of peace. A meal, a walk, a conversation, even a tired evening can become a place where you notice me. Once you stop searching for your worth and performance, you become free. You begin to notice what you have overlooked for years. My beloved child, I have been present in the ordinary moments too. My beloved child, I have been present in the ordinary moments too. Not only in the nights when you cried until you had no words left. I have been with you in the quiet spaces you almost ignored. I was there in the morning when sunlight came through the window. You stood still. I was there while you made coffee, washed dishes, folded clothes, and answered messages. I was there when you drove familiar roads and tried to keep moving through responsibilities that did not stop. My beloved child, you have often searched for me in extraordinary signs while I was meeting you in ordinary mercy. You expected a powerful feeling. Sometimes I gave you a steady breath. You expected a sudden answer. Sometimes I gave you patience to wait. You expected a door to open. Sometimes I gave you wisdom not to force it. You expected everything around you to change. Sometimes I began by changing how you stood inside things that had not changed. Do not underestimate that. Remember how Jesus walked with 2 disciples on the road to Emmaus. They were disappointed, confused, and talking about everything they thought had gone wrong. He was walking beside them before they recognized him. My beloved child, there have been roads like that in your life. You thought you were walking alone because you could not recognize my presence. But I was beside you. When you sat at the edge of your bed trying to decide whether you had strength for tomorrow, I was there. When you woke before the alarm with worry already waiting in your mind, I was there. When you laughed unexpectedly and felt guilty for enjoying the moment, I was there too. You do not have to reserve my presence for sorrow. I am with you in relief. I am with you in rest. I am with you when a meal tastes good, when a friend makes you laugh, and when the air feels cool against your face. I am with you when your mind becomes quiet enough to notice that you are still alive. My beloved child, faith is not only recognizing me when something impossible happens. Faith is also learning to recognize me when life is simple. You have sometimes believed that if you were more spiritual, you would feel something intense every time you prayed. But relationship does not always feel intense. A child does not need a dramatic conversation to know a loving father is near. Presence can be quiet. Love can be steady. Peace can arrive without an announcement. This is why I want you to stop exhausting yourself trying to chase me. You do not need to earn my attention through endless religious activity. You do not need to prove your devotion by becoming depleted. You do not need to compare your prayer life with someone else's. You do not need to make every moment look holy before I will enter it. Invite me into the life you actually have. Talk to me while you drive. Thank me while you eat. Ask for wisdom before you answer the message. Pause before the difficult conversation. Notice what is happening inside you when you feel rushed. Bring me into the decision before fear makes it for you. My beloved child, I am not asking you to escape life. I want to meet you inside it. Scripture shows people meeting me in fields, homes, boats, roads, and ordinary meals. My presence is not limited to sanctuaries or dramatic events. No ordinary task is too small to become a place where your attention turns toward me. Your life does not need a stage to become sacred. The kitchen can become a place of prayer. The car can become a place of honesty. The walk around the block can become a place where your thoughts settle. The quiet minutes before everyone wakes can become a place where you remember who you are. I am near in those moments. And when your day is difficult, do not assume difficulty means I stepped away. My beloved child, I can be present while you are frustrated. I can be present while you are waiting in a doctor's office. I can be present while you review numbers that do not yet work in your favor. I can be present while you sit through an uncomfortable meeting. I can be present while you clean up a mess you did not create. I can be present while you make the responsible choice that no one celebrates. My presence does not depend on your surroundings becoming peaceful first. Sometimes peace begins because you remember I am with you inside those surroundings. David wrote that even if he walked through the valley of the shadow of death, he would not be alone because I was with him. Notice the promise. The valley did not disappear before the presence became real. My beloved child, I want you to learn that kind of trust, not a faith that denies what is hard, a faith that says, "This is hard, and I am not alone. This hurts, and I am not abandoned. I do not know what happens next, and I can still take the next wise step." That is mature faith. It does not need constant excitement. It can sit quietly. It can breathe. It can wait. It can work. It can rest. It can ask for help. It can admit uncertainty without collapsing into despair. My beloved child, there is nowhere in your ordinary life where you need to hide from me. Not your tired bedroom, not your crowded workplace, not the grocery store where you suddenly remember someone you miss, not the parking lot where you take a few extra minutes before going inside, not the table where you sit with bills, plans, questions, and decisions. I am not waiting somewhere far away for you to become more impressive. I am here, closer than your next breath, closer than the thoughts you have not spoken. And because I am near, you can stop treating every quiet moment as empty. Some quiet moments are where your soul finally hears what noise has been covering. Some ordinary days are where healing becomes stable. Some uneventful evenings are evidence that chaos no longer controls your life. Some simple routines are not boring. They are safety returning. My beloved child, begin noticing. Notice when your body relaxes. Notice when you choose peace instead of reacting. Notice when you no longer need to explain yourself to everyone. Notice when you can enjoy something without waiting for disaster to interrupt it. These are small things, but small things can reveal change. And as you learn to recognize my presence in the ordinary, another question may rise in you. If you were with me all along, what about all those prayers you thought had disappeared into silence? My beloved child, they did not disappear. Not one honest prayer was wasted. Not one broken sentence was too small for me to hear. And that is what I want you to understand next. My beloved child, not one honest prayer was wasted, and not one broken sentence was too small for me to hear. You have wondered whether some of your prayers ever reached beyond the room where you whispered them. You have wondered whether the words that came out weak, confused, or unfinished somehow mattered less. They did not sound strong. They mattered. I heard the prayers you spoke clearly. I heard the ones you could barely form. I heard the sigh that came before the words. I heard the silence after you ran out of strength. There were nights when you did not know what to say. You simply lay there with tears in your eyes and a weight in your chest. You thought prayer required language, but I already understood what your heart was carrying. My beloved child, I knew what you meant when all you could say was "help me." I knew what you meant when you whispered "please." I knew what you meant when you asked the same question again, because fear had returned. I knew what you meant when you sat quietly and could not pray at all. Remember what Paul wrote about the Spirit helping us in weakness. We do not always know how to pray as we should. There are groans too deep for words. They are not meaningless to me. You do not need perfect sentences to be heard. You need honesty, and you have been honest with me more often than you realize. You prayed while driving. You prayed while washing your face after crying. You prayed before opening an email you were afraid to read. You prayed in hospital waiting rooms. You prayed before difficult conversations. You prayed while looking at numbers that did not seem to add up. You prayed while watching someone you loved struggle and wishing you could fix what was beyond your control. I heard every one of those moments. But because the answer did not always arrive in the form you expected, you began to wonder whether I had answered at all. My beloved child, this is where waiting can confuse the heart. You asked for relief. Instead, you received strength for another day. You asked for a door to open, and instead you received clarity about why that door was not right. You asked for someone to change, and instead you began changing the way you allowed yourself to be treated. You asked for the situation to disappear, and instead you discovered courage you did not know you had. Some waiting is painful. Some questions remain questions for a long time. Some outcomes are not what you wanted. I will not ask you to pretend otherwise, but I do want you to stop assuming that silence means nothing is happening. My beloved child, some answers begin invisibly. A seed does not announce the moment it begins to take root. A wound does not always tell you the day healing starts. A mind that has lived in fear for years may not notice the first time it chooses peace. Yet change can already be underway even when nothing felt different. There were things I was arranging beyond your view. There were truths you needed time to accept. There were habits that had to loosen their grip. There were conversations that needed to happen later when both people could hear differently. There were opportunities that required skills, stability, or wisdom you were still building. And sometimes my care looked less like giving you what you asked for and more like keeping you from what you could not yet see clearly. My beloved child, look back for a moment. Not to live in the past, just look long enough to remember. Think of a season when you were certain you could not make it through. You may have thought this is where everything falls apart. Maybe the pressure was financial. Maybe your relationship was breaking. Maybe grief changed the way your home felt. Maybe your health frightened you. Maybe your mind was so tired that simple tasks felt heavy. At the time, the future looked very small, but you are here. You made decisions you did not know how to make. You learned things you did not want to have to learn. You asked for help. You rested when your body finally forced you to listen. You started over. You survived days that once looked impossible from the night before. My beloved child, I was not absent from that process. Sometimes I answered through strength, sometimes through wisdom, sometimes through a person, sometimes through a boundary, sometimes through a doctor, a counselor, a pastor, a friend, or a stranger whose kindness arrived at the exact moment you needed to remember that the world was not entirely cold. Do not reject an answer simply because it came through ordinary hands. I have always worked through people. I have always used moments that look small. Remember Elijah in the wilderness, exhausted and afraid. Before there was a grand direction, there was rest, food, and care for his body. Sometimes the next spiritual step is also practical. Eat, sleep, call someone, make the appointment, read the document, ask the question, tell the truth, pray again. My beloved child, this is not weak faith. This is faith learning how to live. You have spent years waiting for one dramatic answer. Many quieter answers were already helping you survive. Look at yourself now. You know more about your patterns than you used to. You recognize when fear is trying to rush you. You know that not every invitation deserves a yes. You know that peace matters. You know that exhaustion can distort judgment. You know that asking for help is not failure. These are answers too. They may not be the answers you wrote down in your mind, but they are evidence that your prayers have not been falling into emptiness. And there are still prayers whose answers you cannot yet see. I know that. There are names you still bring to me. There are situations that remain unresolved. There are desires you have carried for so long that you are afraid to hope again. My beloved child, I will not tell you to force certainty where you do not have it. I will tell you to stay near. Keep praying. Keep listening. Keep acting responsibly with what is already clear. Do not let delay turn into the conclusion that you are forgotten. You are not forgotten. You are not speaking into an empty sky. Your prayers have been heard even when the response has required time, surrender, wisdom, or a path you did not expect. And now I want you to look at the waiting itself, because there is a deeper wound there. It is not only that you asked and waited, it is that you watched days become months and months become years. Other people seem to receive what you were still asking for. My beloved child, before comparison convinces you that I passed you by, let me speak to the long waiting you have carried. My beloved child, before comparison convinces you that I passed you by, let me speak to your long waiting. I know when days blur together. I know when a prayer once spoken with confidence begins to feel fragile. I know how deeply the silence tested you. You have watched seasons change. You have watched other people celebrate answers while you were still asking questions. You watched someone get married while you were still healing. You watched someone receive the opportunity you hoped would be yours. You have watched someone speak about answered prayer. You quietly wondered whether heaven had forgotten your name. My beloved child, I saw every one of those moments. I saw you smile for them and sit alone with the ache afterward. I saw the part of you that felt guilty for being disappointed. I saw you ask yourself whether your sadness meant you were ungrateful. It did not. You can be grateful for another person and still grieve what you have not received. You can celebrate their joy and still bring me your longing. You do not need to hide either one. The waiting has been long. I will not pretend that it has been easy. There were prayers you expected to answer within weeks that remained with you for months. There were desires you thought would be resolved quickly that followed you through entire seasons. And after enough time passed, hope itself began to feel risky. You thought maybe I should stop expecting anything. Maybe it hurts less if I stop believing this can change. My beloved child, I understand why your heart tried to protect itself that way. Disappointment can teach a person to lower every expectation. Life then gets the chance to lower them for you. But I do not want disappointment to become the author of your future. Waiting is not proof that you were forgotten. Silence is not proof that your prayer was discarded. And another person receiving something before you does not mean there is less goodness left for your life. Remember Abraham and Sarah. The promise did not move on their schedule. The waiting exposed fear and impatience. It exposed attempts to control the outcome. Their story was not simple, and their mistakes were real. Yet delay did not mean I had lost sight of them. My beloved child, your waiting may also be revealing things. It may reveal where you have tied your identity to one outcome. It may reveal where comparison has been stealing your peace. It may reveal where urgency has been pushing you toward choices you would not make from wisdom. It may reveal how deeply you want something to prove that you are finally enough. Do not be ashamed of what waiting exposes. Let it teach you. There is a difference between waiting passively and waiting faithfully. Passive waiting says there is nothing I can do. Faithful waiting asks, what is mine to do today? Maybe you cannot create the answer, but you can prepare, you can learn, you can heal, you can save, you can apply, you can apologize, you can set a boundary, you can take care of your body, you can become more honest about what you actually want, you can stop chasing what keeps showing you that it is not healthy. My beloved child, waiting does not mean your life is on hold. You are still living. You are still becoming. You are making choices that shape what you can carry when circumstances change. I know part of you wants certainty. You want me to tell you exactly when the door will open, exactly when the relationship will come, exactly when the financial pressure will ease, exactly when the grief will stop feeling so sharp. But sometimes knowing the date would not give you peace. It would only give your anxiety another calendar to stare at. So I am teaching you something deeper than prediction. I am teaching you presence. Daily bread, enough light for the next step, enough grace for today. Remember how manna came in the wilderness. The people could not store a lifetime of certainty in one morning. They received what was needed for that day. My beloved child, I know you would prefer a warehouse. You want to see the whole supply. You want guarantees. You want to know there will be enough next month and next year. But trust often grows through receiving today without possessing tomorrow. That does not mean you should refuse planning. Plan wisely, save when you can, prepare responsibly, ask questions, gather information. But do not confuse responsible planning with trying to control every possible future. You cannot live tomorrow before it arrives, and you should not sacrifice today's peace trying. My beloved child, look at what waiting has changed in you. You ask better questions now. You notice red flags sooner. You understand that attention is not commitment. You understand that an opportunity can look impressive and still be wrong for you. You understand that quick relief can create long pain. You understand that being chosen by someone is not the same as being cherished by them. You understand that success without peace can become another kind of poverty. Those lessons did not appear overnight. They grew slowly. That is why I want you to stop calling every quiet season empty. Some of your deepest growth has been invisible. You were looking above the surface for evidence. Roots were forming beneath it. You were measuring progress by what changed around you. I was also looking at what changed within you. My beloved child, this does not mean every desire will arrive as imagined. Faith is not a contract that forces a particular outcome. There are prayers whose answers may look different from your original picture. There are losses that cannot be reversed. There are relationships that should not be restored to their previous form. There are dreams that may need to mature. But none of that means your waiting has been meaningless. Your life is not suspended between what happened and what you hope happens next. I am with you here, right now, and I am asking you to let hope become quieter and stronger. Not frantic hope. Not hope that demands a sign every hour. Hope that can breathe. Hope that can work. Hope that can rest. Hope that can say, I do not know the full outcome. I know I can live faithfully today. My beloved child, that kind of hope is harder for disappointment to destroy, and there is something else I want you to see. You have often mistaken hiddenness for burial. Because nothing seemed visible, you assumed nothing was alive. Because the ground looked unchanged, you assumed the story had stopped. But growth often begins where nobody can see it. Before anything appears above ground, something has already been happening underneath. Roots have been reaching, strength has been forming, life has been gathering quietly. My beloved child, perhaps you were not buried after all. Perhaps the long waiting has been teaching you how to become rooted before you become visible. And that is the truth I want to open with you next. My beloved child, perhaps you were not buried after all. Perhaps the long waiting was teaching you how to become rooted before you became visible. You prayed, you waited, you tried again, you watched time pass. And because you could not see movement, you assumed nothing was happening. But hidden does not mean lifeless. To someone watching only the surface, a seed beneath the soil looks like loss. It disappears. It is covered. It is surrounded by darkness. Yet inside that hidden place, life is working. The shell begins to break. Roots begin to reach downward. Strength forms before anything rises upward. My beloved child, that is what some seasons have been doing inside you. You wanted visible progress. I was building depth. You wanted an answer everyone could recognize. I was building endurance no one could applaud. You wanted to move quickly. I was teaching your spirit how to stay steady when nothing around you offered certainty. This is why I need you to stop calling every hidden season wasted. There are things that could not have grown in the spotlight. There are lessons you would not have learned if every prayer had been answered immediately. There are patterns you would have missed if life had kept moving fast enough to distract you. The waiting slowed you down. You saw where you were chasing approval. You saw where fear was making decisions. You saw where loneliness tempted you to return to what had already hurt you. You saw where ambition had become pressure instead of purpose. You saw where being needed had become a substitute for being loved. My beloved child, roots grow downward because they are preparing to hold what will eventually rise. Think of the tree described in the first psalm, planted by streams of water. Its strength is not found only in what people can see above the ground. Its stability comes from where it has learned to draw life. I have been teaching you where to draw life, not from constant praise, not from another person's attention, not from one perfect outcome, not from the illusion that you can control tomorrow, from me, from truth, from wisdom, from habits that keep you grounded when emotions change. That kind of rooting takes time, and sometimes while roots are forming, doors remain closed. You have stood in front of doors you were certain had to open. You knocked, you prayed, you tried to understand why nothing moved. Some may never open. But my beloved child, a closed door does not always mean the hallway has become your home. Sometimes it simply means there is another direction you have not noticed yet. You were staring so hard at one entrance that you stopped looking for other paths. You believed that if this relationship did not return, love was over. You believed that if this job did not work, your future had collapsed. You believed that if this plan failed, you had somehow missed your only chance. But I am larger than one door. Your purpose is not so fragile that one person's decision can erase it. Your future is not trapped inside one opportunity. Your identity is not locked behind one answer. My beloved child, remember Israel moving through the wilderness. They could not return to Egypt and call captivity security simply because the unknown felt frightening. The wilderness was uncomfortable, but it was also a place where dependence, identity, and trust were being rebuilt. You have had wilderness seasons too. Places where the old was gone, but the new was not yet clear. But familiar does not always mean safe, and unfamiliar does not always mean wrong. Sometimes the new feels empty because chaos used to fill every corner. Sometimes peace feels strange because your body became accustomed to tension. Sometimes a healthy relationship feels less exciting because you are no longer being forced to chase reassurance. Sometimes responsible progress feels slow because you are no longer building on panic. My beloved child, do not mistake stability for stagnation. You are learning how to grow without destroying yourself. You are learning how to say yes without abandoning discernment. You are learning how to say no without drowning in guilt. You are learning how to rest without believing everything will collapse. You are learning how to let time reveal character. You are learning not to assign meaning after one good conversation. These are roots. When opportunity comes, roots help you remain grounded. When attention comes, roots keep you from becoming addicted to approval. When money increases, roots help you remember stewardship. When love enters your life, roots help you receive it without losing yourself. When pressure rises, roots help you respond instead of react. My beloved child, that is why preparation matters. You asked me to change your circumstances. I also cared about the person who would have to live inside them. A bigger room does not heal an anxious heart. More money does not automatically create wisdom. A new relationship does not erase old attachment wounds. A new title does not silence insecurity. If the roots remain shallow, even good things can become heavy. So I have been doing work beneath the surface, not because I forgot what you asked for, because depth protects what growth will eventually require you to carry. Think about Jesus speaking of seed falling on shallow ground. It sprang up quickly, but without deep roots, it could not endure the heat. My beloved child, I am not only interested in quick growth, I care about lasting fruit. I care about who you become when nobody is watching. I care about whether peace survives pressure. I care about whether your values remain intact when an attractive shortcut appears. That is why some of your progress has been slower than you wanted. Slow does not mean wrong, quiet does not mean empty, hidden does not mean forgotten, and closed does not always mean denied. Sometimes what feels like restriction is actually room for your roots to deepen. So do not dig yourself up every few days to check whether you are growing. Do not keep returning to the past, because the future has not become visible quickly enough. Do not reopen doors simply because waiting feels uncomfortable. Stay where truth is teaching you. Keep doing the next faithful thing. Keep becoming the kind of person who can recognize good things without clinging to them in fear. My beloved child, there will come a moment when hidden growth begins to show. Not because you forced it, because what was forming underneath has become strong enough to support what rises above. And when that happens, you will notice that some barriers which once looked permanent no longer carry the same power. The walls will not always fall dramatically. Some will weaken because you have changed. Some chains will loosen because you stop feeding the pattern that held them. Some paths will clear because you finally have the courage to walk differently. My beloved child, you were planted so that you could become rooted. Now the roots beneath you are preparing you to face barriers that once felt impossible to move. My beloved child, those roots are preparing you to face the barriers that once seemed impossible to move. Some barriers have stood for so long that you began to treat them as permanent. You stopped asking whether they could change. You learned how to live around them. Fear became normal. Financial pressure became normal. Emotional exhaustion became normal. Repeating the same relationship pattern became normal. Avoiding difficult conversations became normal. Because something had lasted so long, you began to assume it had the right to remain forever. But length does not equal authority. My beloved child, an old pattern can be familiar and still be breakable. A wall can stand for years and still crack when its foundation changes. A chain can feel strong until you stop feeding the habit that keeps tightening it. This is why the work beneath the surface mattered. You are not meeting these barriers the way you used to. You notice more. You pause more. You ask better questions. You recognize when fear is pretending to be wisdom. You recognize when guilt is trying to pull you back into a role you have outgrown. You recognize when urgency pressures you to decide before peace has time to speak. That awareness is already motion. My beloved child, remember the walls of Jericho. Israel did not bring the walls down by human strength alone. They followed instruction, moved patiently, and trusted a process that looked strange before anything changed. There are walls in your life that may not fall in one dramatic moment. Some will come down one truthful decision at a time, one boundary, one honest conversation, one application sent, one appointment made, one debt payment, one apology, one night of real rest, one refusal to return to what keeps injuring you. Do not despise small acts because the wall looks large. Large barriers are weakened by faithful choices repeated over time. My beloved child, you have been waiting for freedom to feel dramatic. Sometimes freedom feels quiet at first. It feels like checking your phone less. It feels like no longer rehearsing arguments in your head. It feels like walking into a room without needing everyone to approve of you. It feels like looking at your finances instead of avoiding them. It feels like asking for medical care instead of hoping fear will disappear by itself. It feels like admitting that a relationship cannot be repaired by one person doing all the work. These moments may not look like thunder, but they are cracks in old walls, and I want you to notice them. You may also begin to see movement in areas where you had stopped expecting it. A new conversation may bring clarity. A skill you have been building may open a different kind of opportunity. A relationship may become healthier because both people finally choose honesty. Another relationship may end because truth reveals that peace cannot grow there. A financial season may improve through discipline. Opportunity-wise, counsel and patience support that. Healing may come through prayer, treatment, and community. It may also come through counseling, rest, forgiveness, or other ordinary means. My beloved child, do not put me in a box by insisting that only dramatic outcomes count as restoration. I can work through process. I can work through wisdom. I can work through people. I can work through time. I can work through the courage you thought was too small to matter. Remember the paralytic whose friends carried him to Jesus. His breakthrough involved faith, community effort, interruption, and help from others. He did not reach it alone. You do not have to break every barrier alone either. Asking for help is not weakness. Prayer should lead you toward action. Support can be part of the answer. My beloved child, some of the chains you have called spiritual may also be reinforced by habits, environments, untreated wounds, and repeated choices. That does not diminish faith. It makes your response more honest. If anxiety is overwhelming, prayer can stand beside professional support. If your finances are unstable, faith can stand beside a written plan. If your relationship is unhealthy, forgiveness can stand beside boundaries. If your body is exhausted, trust can stand beside sleep. I am not asking you to pick faith over responsibility. I am teaching you to let them walk together. That is how old barriers begin losing power. You stop waiting for someone else to change before you are faithful with what you have. You stop asking the past for permission to move forward. You stop measuring progress only by how quickly circumstances change. You begin noticing how much authority fear has lost. My beloved child, this is important. Some walls fall outside you. Others fall inside you first. The situation may still be complicated, but panic no longer controls every decision. The person may still be difficult, but their mood no longer defines your worth. The money may still require careful attention, but avoidance is no longer running the household. The memory may still exist, but it no longer decides what you believe about tomorrow. That is freedom beginning. Do not call it small. You once prayed for peace. Now notice when peace stays with you during a conversation that would once have destroyed your entire day. You once prayed for courage. Now notice when you speak one honest sentence instead of swallowing your truth. You once prayed for healing. Now notice when you remember what happened without feeling compelled to return and change the ending. My beloved child, these are signs that barriers are losing their grip. And yes, there may be doors that open ahead. There may be opportunities you could not see while you were occupied with survival. There may be relationships built on mutual respect instead of anxiety. There may be new ways to work, serve, create, and provide. There may be moments when you realize your life changed more than you noticed. But do not make the mistake of believing that every breakthrough must arrive in the exact form you pictured. You asked for certain things while standing in an earlier version of yourself. You could not yet see everything you can see now. Your desires may mature as you mature. Your definition of success may change. Your idea of love may become healthier. Your understanding of provision may become wiser. My beloved child, a barrier breaking is not always an invitation to run through the first opening you see. Freedom still needs discernment. An open path still needs wisdom. A new opportunity still needs truth. The fact that something becomes possible does not automatically mean it belongs to you. So celebrate the cracks in the old walls. Thank me for the strength that is returning. Notice the chains that no longer fit. Notice the paths that are becoming clearer. But keep your heart teachable, because the next lesson is just as important as the breakthrough itself. You must release the picture of exactly how the answer is supposed to come. My beloved child, what opens next may look different from what you spent years imagining, and that difference may be part of the wisdom you have been prepared to receive today. My beloved child, what opens next may not match the picture you've held for years. That difference could be the wisdom you've been ready to receive. You have carried certain pictures in your mind for a long time. You pictured how the answer should arrive, who should be involved, what should happen first, and how quickly everything should change. You prayed with sincerity. You hoped with intensity. But somewhere along the way, hope became attached to one specific outcome. You began to think that unless the answer came through that exact door, maybe there would be no answer at all. My beloved child, I want to loosen that grip gently. Your desire is not wrong simply because it is specific. You are allowed to want something. You are allowed to ask clearly. You are allowed to bring me names, plans, deadlines, dreams, and needs. But asking is different from controlling. Trust makes space for me to lead in other ways. You may pray for one relationship to return. I may be teaching you what healthy love requires before trust can be restored. You may pray for one job. Another path may already be building the skills, stability, and purpose you couldn't see from where you stood. You may pray for immediate relief. The answer may come through treatment-wise counsel, discipline, rest, or a chain of small decisions. My beloved child, do not reject an answer because it arrives wearing ordinary clothes. Remember Naaman. He expected something dramatic when he came seeking healing. He imagined a powerful display. Instead, he was given a simple instruction that offended his expectations. His pride almost made him walk away from the very path he had been asking for. Expectations can do that. They can make you overlook what is good because it does not look impressive. They can make you call something small when it is actually the beginning. They can keep you clinging to an old picture long after wisdom points somewhere new. My beloved child, some of your prayers were formed during seasons when fear was speaking loudly. You asked for people to stay because being alone frightened you. You asked for certain doors to open because you thought success would finally make you feel safe. You asked for quick answers because waiting made you feel powerless. Now you are seeing more clearly. You understand that not everyone who returns should regain the same access. You understand that money can solve certain problems, but it cannot create peace by itself. You understand that being chosen is not the same as being cherished. You understand that an open door can still lead somewhere unhealthy. This is growth, and growth may change the shape of what you ask for. My beloved child, do not be afraid when your prayers mature. You are not betraying the person you used to be. You are allowing wisdom to join desire. Maybe you once prayed, bring this person back. Now your prayer becomes, show me whether this relationship can produce honesty, respect, safety, and mutual responsibility. Maybe you once prayed, give me this opportunity. Now your prayer becomes, open what is right and give me courage to walk away from what only feeds my ego. Maybe you once prayed, make this pain disappear. Now your prayer becomes, heal what can be healed. Teach me what I need to learn and help me live faithfully while the process unfolds. That is surrender. Surrender is not giving up. It is releasing the demand that life must follow the script in your head. Only then can you truly trust me. My beloved child, remember Jesus in Gethsemane. He spoke honestly about what he desired, and then he surrendered the outcome to the Father. Honesty and surrender existed in the same prayer. You can do that too. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you fear. Tell me what ending you hope for. Then leave room for wisdom beyond your imagination. My ways are not limited to the route you can currently see. That does not mean every unexpected event is automatically my direction. You still need discernment. You still need scripture. You still need wise counsel. You still need to pay attention to character consequences, peace, responsibility, and truth. Do not call every surprise a sign. Do not call every opportunity an answer. Do not call every strong feeling guidance. My beloved child, surrender does not remove discernment. It strengthens it. When you are no longer desperate to force one outcome, you can finally examine what is in front of you honestly. You can ask whether the relationship has actually changed or whether loneliness is making old patterns look attractive again. You can ask whether the opportunity fits your values or whether you only want the validation attached to it. You can ask whether the urgency is real or whether fear simply wants relief. That kind of freedom is powerful. You stop bargaining with life. You stop saying, I can only be happy if this happens. You stop saying, I can only heal if that person apologizes. You stop saying, I can only move forward if the past gives me closure. My beloved child, sometimes closure comes from truth, not from another conversation. Sometimes the answer is not a reopened door. Sometimes the answer is finally having peace while walking past it. Sometimes restoration is not returning to what was. It is becoming capable of receiving what is healthier. This is why I want your hands open. Closed fists can only hold what they already have. Open hands can release, receive, and respond. You may discover that what you thought you needed was actually one possible form of a deeper need. You thought you needed one person's approval. What you needed was security. You thought you needed one title. What you needed was meaningful work and stability. You thought you needed everything restored exactly as before. What you needed was healing wisdom and a future no longer governed by the past. My beloved child, let me meet the deeper need. Do not make one method your God. Do not make one person your only doorway. Do not make one timeline the measure of my faithfulness. Stay attentive, stay grounded, stay willing to revise your expectations when truth becomes clearer. There is freedom in saying, this is what I hope for, but I trust you enough not to force it. There is strength in saying, I will prepare for good things without pretending I know exactly what form they will take. And preparation matters more than you may realize. You are learning to recognize that a better answer may require a better foundation. What once looked like delay may have been time for your judgment to mature and your motives to become clearer. It may also have been time for your heart to stop mistaking immediate relief for lasting good. Even a good answer can become heavy when it arrives before your character, habits, boundaries, or wisdom are ready to carry it. My beloved child, before you ask why some doors took so long to open, I need you to understand why preparation had to come before possession. My beloved child, before you ask why some doors took so long to open, I need you to understand why preparation had to come before possession. You have often looked at delay as if it were empty time. You saw yourself waiting while other people seemed to be moving. You wondered whether you were being overlooked, punished, or left behind. But there were things you could not yet see. A good thing arriving too early can become a heavy burden. An opportunity can be right and still require maturity. A relationship can be meaningful and still require healthier patterns. My beloved child, preparation was not meant to humiliate you. It was meant to strengthen your capacity. Think about David before the palace. Before public responsibility came private training. Before anyone knew his name, he learned courage in fields where no crowd was watching. He learned how to protect what had been placed in his care. His preparation did not look impressive, but it mattered when the weight became greater. You have had hidden fields too. These lessons were preparation. My beloved child, if I had given you everything you asked for in the season when you first asked, some of it might have met a version of you that was still desperate for validation. You might have used the blessing to prove your worth. You might have held the relationship too tightly because you were afraid of losing it. You might have accepted conditions you should have questioned because you were grateful that a door had finally opened. Now you are learning to slow down. That matters. Preparation teaches you that not every urgent feeling deserves immediate action. It teaches you to receive without becoming dependent on what comes. It teaches you how to hold something valuable without making it your identity. My beloved child, remember Moses. He wanted to help his people, but his first attempt came through impulse and force. Then came years in the wilderness, far from the place he expected to matter. Those years looked like disappearance. They became preparation for a responsibility much larger than one emotional moment. Your wilderness has taught you too. You have learned that good intentions need wisdom. You have learned that passion without patience can create damage. You have learned that courage is not the same as rushing. You have learned that being called to something does not mean you can skip the process required to carry it well. This is why character matters. A door can open quickly. Character is usually built slowly. Recognition can arrive in a day. Integrity is built through repeated choices. Money can increase suddenly. Stewardship is learned over time. A relationship can begin with one conversation. Trust is built through consistency. My beloved child, I care about what remains after the excitement wears off. I care about how you respond when the opportunity becomes work. I care about how you handle conflict after attraction settles into ordinary life. I care about whether you remain honest when success gives you more options. Preparation helps you carry what desire alone cannot sustain. You once thought readiness meant wanting something badly enough. Now you know better. Wanting marriage does not automatically prepare someone for partnership. Wanting financial freedom does not automatically create financial discipline. Wanting leadership does not automatically create emotional maturity. Wanting healing does not automatically mean every old pattern has been released. Desire can begin the journey. Preparation teaches you how to walk it. My beloved child, some of your delays gave you time to become more honest about what you wanted. At first you wanted the person. Later you realized you wanted safe love. At first you wanted the title. Later you realized you wanted meaningful work without sacrificing your health. At first you wanted to prove everyone wrong. Later you realized peace mattered more than winning an argument with your past. That change in desire is part of readiness. Remember Joseph again. The dream came long before the responsibility. Between the dream and the position were betrayal, service, false accusation, waiting, and years of learning how to live faithfully without control over the timeline. When responsibility finally arrived, he was not only someone with a dream, he had become someone capable of managing pressure, resources, conflict, and power. My beloved child, this is what I want you to understand about your preparation. The goal is not simply to receive. The goal is to receive without losing yourself, to enter a relationship without abandoning your boundaries, to handle opportunity without becoming arrogant, to gain resources without letting fear or greed rule you, to experience recognition without needing applause to breathe, to step into something new without dragging every old survival pattern through the doorway. That is capacity, and capacity has been growing in you. You may still have work to do. Readiness does not mean perfection. It means you are becoming more teachable, more grounded, and more aware of your patterns. You are also more willing to correct yourself when truth shows you something uncomfortable. My beloved child, do not despise that growth because it happens slowly. A bridge is tested before heavy traffic is allowed across it. A foundation is strengthened before another floor is added. A tree develops roots before its branches carry more weight. You have asked for increase. I have cared about a strong foundation. You have asked for expansion. I have also cared about stability. You have asked for open doors. I have also cared about the person who walks through them. This is why some seasons required more patience than you expected. You were learning how to stay calm when uncertainty appeared. You were learning how to listen before answering. You were learning how to recognize manipulation. You were learning how to say no without explaining yourself endlessly. You were learning how to ask for help without feeling ashamed. You were learning how to recover after a mistake instead of turning one mistake into an identity. My beloved child, those lessons are not small. They are the muscles that help you carry more without collapsing under it. So when you look back at the delay, do not only ask, why did it take so long? Also ask, who was I becoming while I waited? Notice the patience you did not have before. Notice the boundaries that once frightened you. Notice the way you can sit with uncertainty without immediately reaching for the wrong answer. Notice how much less willing you are to trade peace for temporary attention. This is evidence of preparation. My beloved child, you are not finished, but you are not where you began. And as you recognize that, something deeper becomes clear. The greatest change may not be the door that eventually opens. It may be the person who now stands in front of that door. The process has been shaping your judgment, your courage, your humility, your standards, and your faith. Before we talk about what may come next, I want you to see who you have become while waiting. Because the next part of your story is not only about receiving something new, it is about becoming someone new enough to carry it with wisdom. My beloved child, before we talk about what may come next, I want you to see who you have become while waiting. The process has not only changed your circumstances, it has changed the way you think, the way you respond, the way you recognize peace, and the way you understand your own strength. You entered some seasons asking only for relief. You wanted the pressure to stop. You wanted the door to open. You wanted the pain to leave. But somewhere along the road, something deeper began happening. You became more honest. You became more patient. You became less willing to abandon yourself just to keep someone close. You became more careful about what deserves your yes. My beloved child, that matters more than you realize. There were times when you thought hardship had reduced you. You looked at what you lost and assumed you had become less. But loss does not always make a person smaller. Sometimes it removes what was never stable enough to carry the future. Sometimes it strips away the version of you that survived by pleasing everyone. Sometimes it exposes how much of your identity was tied to being needed. And sometimes it forces you to meet parts of yourself you had avoided for years. My beloved child, I know you would never have chosen some of those lessons. I am not asking you to be grateful for every wound. I am asking you to notice what you have learned while healing from them. You learned that peace is worth protecting. You learned that attention is not the same as love. You learned that an apology without changed behavior cannot rebuild trust by itself. You learned that being strong does not mean never needing help. You learned that rest can be responsible. You learned that boundaries do not make you cruel. You learned that walking away can sometimes be an act of wisdom rather than rejection. These lessons are part of who you are becoming. Remember, James wrote that the testing of faith can produce endurance. Let that endurance finish its work. That does not mean pain is pleasant. It means difficulty can develop something in you when you refuse to let it make you bitter. My beloved child, endurance has been growing in places where you once thought only exhaustion lived. You used to believe strength meant never trembling. Now you understand that courage can tremble and still move. You used to believe faith meant never questioning. Now you understand that faith can bring questions to me and still remain close. You used to believe maturity meant having all the answers. Now you understand that maturity often says, I do not know yet. You will wait before you decide. The person you were before the storm may have chased every open door. The person you are becoming asks where the door leads. The person you were before the disappointment may have accepted words quickly. The person you are becoming watches patterns over time. The person you were before the loss may have confused chemistry with safety. The person you are becoming knows that peace, respect, consistency, and truth matter. My beloved child, this is why I want you to stop speaking about yourself as if you are only what happened to you. You are not merely the person who was betrayed. You are the person learning discernment. You are not merely the person who lost something important. You are the person learning what cannot be taken away. You are not merely the person who waited. You are the person who learned how to remain faithful without immediate results. You are not merely the person who broke down. You are the person who learned that asking for help is not shameful. Your scars are part of the story. They are not the whole identity. Think of Jacob after the night of wrestling. He walked differently afterward. The struggle marked him. It also became a turning point in how he understood himself and his relationship with me. My beloved child, some seasons change your walk. You do not move through life the same way afterward. You become slower to judge, quicker to notice pain in others, less impressed by appearances, more interested in character, less desperate to win every argument, more willing to protect what is peaceful. That is not weakness, that is refinement. The fire did not need to become your identity in order to change you. Gold does not become fire simply because it passed through heat. It becomes more clearly what it was meant to be. In the same way, you do not have to become hard because life was hard. You do not have to become suspicious because someone betrayed you. You do not have to become cold because love once disappointed you. You can become wiser without becoming closed. You can become stronger without becoming harsh. You can become careful without becoming afraid of everyone. My beloved child, that is the kind of transformation I want you to recognize. You may still have difficult days. You may still feel old emotions return. Growth does not erase humanity. But notice the difference. The emotion comes and you no longer obey it automatically. The memory returns and you no longer build your future around it. The fear speaks and you ask whether it is telling the truth. The disappointment arrives and you allow yourself to grieve without declaring that your life is over. That is freedom becoming practical. My beloved child, I know you have spent a long time waiting for the outside of your life to look different. There may still be changes ahead. There may be opportunities, relationships, responsibilities, and new beginnings you cannot yet see clearly. But do not overlook the change already happening inside you while you wait for something outside to move. You are becoming harder to manipulate because you know your worth. You are becoming harder to rush because you understand peace. You are becoming less willing to chase what requires you to abandon truth. You are becoming more able to receive good without clutching it in fear. This is part of the breakthrough too. Maybe the greatest evidence of growth is not that every problem disappeared. Maybe it is that problems no longer have the same authority over who you become. My beloved child, your best days do not have to be trapped behind you. Do not worship the past simply because it is familiar. You do not need to know exactly what they contain. You only need to stop assuming that everything meaningful has already happened. The process has prepared you to meet the future differently. My beloved child, lift your head slowly today. You have spent enough time studying the ground where things fell apart. There is a horizon in front of you too, and as you begin to look up, I want you to notice something. Some signs of change are already around you. Not every sign will be dramatic. Some will be quiet. But if you are willing to look forward instead of constantly searching backward, you may finally recognize that something new has already begun. My beloved child, something new may already be beginning. I do not want you to miss it by keeping your eyes fixed on what broke behind you. You have spent enough time studying the places where you were hurt. You have learned from them. You have grieved them. You have carried their lessons. Now I want you to lift your head slowly and look again at the life that is still in front of you. Look up. Not because every problem has disappeared. Not because every prayer has been answered exactly as you hoped. Look up because despair has kept your attention on the ground for too long. My beloved child, when pain lasts for a season, the mind begins expecting more pain. You wake up preparing for what might go wrong. You enter conversations already protecting yourself. You receive good news and immediately search for the hidden disappointment. But healing teaches you to notice something different. It teaches you to ask what is changing, what feels lighter, what no longer controls me the way it once did. Maybe you did not notice the first signs because they looked ordinary. You slept through the night without replaying the old conversation. You heard a name that once made your stomach tighten and your body stayed calm. You received a message and did not feel compelled to answer immediately. You looked at a difficult bill and made a plan instead of shutting down. You said no without spending the next hour explaining why. My beloved child, those are not meaningless details. They are signs that the old patterns are losing authority. You kept waiting for change to arrive like thunder. Sometimes change arrives like morning. The darkness does not argue with dawn. Light simply begins appearing at the edge of the sky. At first it is easy to miss. Then the room becomes clearer. Then you realize the night is no longer in control. Remember the words Isaiah spoke about doing a new thing and asking whether people could perceive it. That question still matters. Can you perceive what is becoming new? Not what you wish were new, not what you are trying to force. What is actually changing? My beloved child, look forward. There are still gifts in you that disappointment did not erase. There are still ideas you put aside because survival took all your energy. You do not need to recover every dream exactly as it once existed. Some dreams should return differently. Some need releasing so a wiser purpose can take their place. But do not assume that because one chapter ended, your capacity to create love, serve, build, and hope ended with it, you are still here. That means there is still something to steward today. My beloved child, look within. Notice the person standing here now. You are not reacting the way you used to. You are not chasing every person who becomes distant. You are not calling every closed door a personal rejection. You are not confusing panic with intuition as easily as before. You are learning how to wait before answering. You are learning how to ask whether peace remains after excitement fades. You are learning how to let time reveal what words alone cannot prove. That is new. Do not overlook internal restoration simply because it cannot be photographed. A calmer nervous system matters. A clearer boundary matters. A more honest prayer matters. Being able to enjoy a quiet afternoon without bracing for disaster matters. The ability to remember the past without feeling commanded by it matters. My beloved child, these are signs of life returning. Now look around. Who brings peace into the room rather than confusion? Who tells you the truth without humiliating you? Who respects your boundaries without punishing you? Who makes it easier to become honest, responsible, and grounded? Pay attention. Restoration may include healthier community. It may include repairing a relationship where both people are willing to change. It may also include accepting that some relationships cannot return to their old form. Do not call every reunion restoration. Reconciliation needs truth. Trust needs fruit. Forgiveness can happen in your heart before access is restored in your life. My beloved child, this is wisdom you did not always have. Work may begin to feel more secure as you make clearer decisions. Financial pressure may become more manageable because you finally stopped avoiding the numbers and started building a plan. Your body may begin responding to rest, treatment, movement, nourishment, and care. Your mind may become quieter because you are no longer feeding it the same cycle of fear every night. But ordinary restoration is still restoration. Do not reject steady progress because it does not look miraculous enough. I can meet you in the appointment you kept. I can meet you in the apology you finally gave. I can meet you in the boundary you maintained. I can meet you in the opportunity you prepared for instead of the one you chased. My beloved child, provision is not always sudden abundance. Sometimes provision is enough wisdom to stop leaking what you already have. Sometimes it is the courage to ask for fair treatment. Sometimes it is the humility to accept help. Sometimes it is realizing that your life does not need to look impressive in order to become stable. Jesus taught that a tree is known by its fruit. Use that wisdom when something new appears. Does this opportunity produce peace with responsibility? Does this relationship produce honesty and respect? Does this decision move you toward integrity or toward hiding? Does this path help you become more faithful, or does it feed the same old fear in a new costume? My beloved child, looking forward does not mean becoming naive. Hope and discernment belong together. You do not need to distrust everything because you were hurt before. You also do not need to call everything good because you are tired of waiting. Walk slowly enough to see clearly. There may be new joy ahead, but joy does not always announce itself. Sometimes it begins when you laugh without forcing it. Sometimes it begins when music sounds good again. Sometimes it begins when you make plans for next month instead of only surviving today. Sometimes it begins when you notice you are curious about life again. My beloved child, the past trained you to watch for danger. Now I am teaching you to recognize life. Lift your head, look up, look forward, look within, look around, not with desperation, with attention. You do not have to declare that everything is fixed. You only need to notice that everything is not the same. Something has shifted. You have shifted. And as this journey approaches its final movement, there is one truth I want to plant firmly inside you. The fear that opened this message does not get to close it. Tomorrow is not a monster waiting in the dark. You will meet it with the wisdom, boundaries, faith, and steadiness that have been growing through every part of this process. My beloved child, now it is time to step forward. Leave the old trap behind. My beloved child, now it is time to step forward. Leave the old trap behind. You have spent this journey looking at fear, waiting wounds, closed doors, hidden growth, and the ways I have been teaching you to walk with greater wisdom. I do not want you to finish these words by returning to the same panic that first brought you here. Tomorrow is still tomorrow. You do not know every detail. You do not control every outcome, but you do not have to enter it as the same person. You once believed that one bad moment could destroy everything. My beloved child, the trap was never only about what might happen around you. The deeper trap was fear convincing you that you had to live on constant alert. It was shame telling you that your past had already decided your future. It was comparison telling you that everyone else was ahead. It was urgency telling you that you had to force an answer before wisdom had time to speak. It was bitterness telling you that staying angry was the only way to stay protected. And through this journey, those lies have been exposed. You have learned that my silence was not absence. You have learned that some closed doors protected you. You have learned that hidden tears were still seen. You have learned that rejection did not define your worth. You have learned that grace does not depend on performance. You have learned that ordinary moments can carry my presence. You have learned that prayers can be heard even when answers take time. You have learned that waiting can grow roots. You have learned that barriers can weaken through faithful choices. You have learned that answers may come differently than you imagined. And you have learned that preparation changes the person who receives what comes next. My beloved child, that is why the trap no longer has to control you. Not because difficulty has disappeared, not because every danger has been removed, not because I am promising that tomorrow will contain only good news. The trap breaks when fear no longer gets to choose your next step. Think of the disciples after the resurrection. They had known failure, confusion, grief, and fear, yet Jesus met them with peace and then sent them forward. Their future was not built on pretending the cross had never happened. It was built on discovering that the worst moment was not the final word. My beloved child, your painful chapters do not get the final word either. What happened matters. What you lost matters. What people did matters. But none of those things own the rest of your story. You can carry wisdom without carrying the wound as your identity. You can remember without returning. You can forgive without reopening unsafe access. You can hope without becoming naive. You can trust me without refusing practical responsibility. This is what freedom looks like when it becomes real. So when tomorrow comes, do not begin by searching for disaster. Begin by grounding yourself in truth. Breathe before you react. Pray before you assume. Gather facts before fear writes the story. Ask for help when you need it. Keep the boundary that protects what has become healthy. Take care of the responsibility already in your hands. And if something unexpected happens, meet it one faithful step at a time. My beloved child, you do not need strength for every possible future tonight. You need grace for the next step. Remember Jesus' teaching not to carry tomorrow's trouble before tomorrow arrives. Today has enough for today. That does not mean you ignore preparation. Prepare wisely. Lock the door if it needs locking. Make the appointment. Review the budget. Have the conversation. Rest your body. Ask the question. But do these things from wisdom, not terror. Fear says control everything, or you are unsafe. Faith says do what is yours to do, and trust me with what is beyond you. My beloved child, that distinction can change the way you live. You are not being asked to become fearless. You are learning not to become obedient to fear. Courage is not the absence of trembling. Courage is choosing truth while trembling. Peace is not the guarantee that nothing difficult will happen. Peace is knowing that difficulty does not remove my presence, and hope is not pretending every desire will be fulfilled exactly as you imagined. Hope is believing that your life can still hold meaning, love, growth, service, and goodness, even when the road changes. My beloved child, carry that hope forward. Let it become practical. Call the person you need to call. Finish the task you have been avoiding. Clear the corner of your home that has become a reminder of chaos. Write down the next responsible financial step. Return to prayer without trying to sound impressive. Open scripture and let truth interrupt the old mental script. Choose one faithful action instead of demanding certainty about the whole future. Small actions can become evidence that the old trap is no longer directing you. You do not have to prove anything tonight. You do not have to announce that you are completely healed. You do not have to force a dramatic ending. Some of the strongest endings are quiet. A door closes. You do not reopen it. A memory appears. You do not obey it. Someone misunderstands you. You do not abandon yourself trying to control their opinion. An opportunity arrives. You do not rush. You test it by truth, character, time, and peace. My beloved child, that is growth. That is what it looks like to walk forward free. And when you notice fear returning, do not condemn yourself. Return to what you have learned. I am near. Your worth is secure. Your past is a teacher, not a master. Your waiting was not empty. Your roots have grown. Your boundaries matter. Grace is still available. The next step can still be faithful. My beloved child, I want you to close this journey with open hands. Release what you cannot control. Receive the wisdom that has been forming. Thank me for the strength that carried you farther than you thought you could go. Ask me for discernment for what comes next, and then rest. You do not need to lie awake tonight guarding the future. I am already present in the morning you have not reached. If this message helped you, remember that carry the hope beyond yourself. Share it with someone who needs comfort, not because sharing earns a blessing, but because encouragement is worth passing on. And if you want to mark this moment, simply say amen from an honest heart, not as a transaction, as agreement. My beloved child, step forward. The trap of fear does not own you. Tomorrow does not own you. The past does not own you. You belong to me. I will meet you in each ordinary moment. I will give light for the step before you, and strength enough for what today requires. Walk into what comes next with wisdom and humility. Carry courage and peace. Your story is still being written, and you do not walk into the next page alone.